And I think everyone in any line of work can relate to this. It's those people who just aren't pulling their weight and maybe, aren't there when, the hits the fan.
Either they tell very little information about the patient, or they tell you so much that you become really overwhelmed.
You get War and Peace. Hi, my name's Polly, and welcome to today's episode of Coffee on Call, the Foundation Medicine podcast. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about what makes a great doctor. And joining me today, I've got Ruby and Elwyn. So let's get started. So to you, what is the perfect doctor? What are the qualities that make a doctor great?
For me, all of the good doctors that I've come away from my interactions thinking I want to be like them or they're really good are just people that are really invested in the patients and compassionate with patients. Not always necessarily about knowing everything. I don't know if you agree, but I feel like just people who care and who show up and do the job well.
Yeah, so I completely agree. I think it's the people that are very passionate about what they do. You can tell they really enjoy it. But just to add to that, I would say, people that are approachable, people that are just normal people sometimes, just
Well-rounded.
They can empathize, they can talk about, just something in the news or, something like that, just because it really helps the patient open up and it can open up many doors. So I think just being that approachable person and just being generally quite a nice person can make you a really good doctor.
Yeah.
I think approachable is a really good word to use because, we've all had that moment where you've opened your on-call rotor for the weekend, you see someone's name, you're like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to speak to them all weekend. And I think even just being that open, friendly person makes patients more comfortable, it makes the doctors that work with you. I think it makes you safer because if people are happy to talk to you, then, more people are going to be willing to raise their concerns and ask questions.
It's like building the bridges with your colleagues, like making it so like when you open the rotor, it's someone that people go, oh, I'm glad I'm working with them because they're up for it. You can share the workload. You can trust them. That's another big thing for me is trust.
Yeah, just waking up and seeing the rotor and seeing that person that you just love working with and you're just like, oh, really? Can't wait.
I think it'll be a good weekend.
I think the key thing here is both of you, I think you touched on it there. None of these qualities we're talking about are to do with your book smarts or your knowledge. No. It's all about...
certainly helps if you know what you're talking about.
But I think the non-obvious stuff is,
so much more important.
That's the stuff you remember, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those people that you really enjoyed working with.
And that's the stuff patients remember as well.
Yeah, those people who had your back when times were tough, which happened quite a lot.
People you can count on.
Yeah.
And people who are just honest. Like a person that's honest about what the plan is, someone
what's
that
going to happen next.
I think patients really appreciate that, don't they? It doesn't matter what you tell them, as long as you're honest and you explain why, they really appreciate that sometimes.
And a lot of these people that we've worked with, particularly when you're just starting out in your career, whether that's at medical school or whether that's as a foundation doctor, these are the types of people who maybe become sort of a formal mentor to you or just someone who's a bit of a role model. So have you guys got any standouts of people who were role models or mentors to you and any sort of things about them that made them so memorable to you and shaped your career?
I've had some really good mentors over the years. Starting even in secondary school, I had an amazing teacher, and I've had some amazing teachers at med school and now into foundation as well. And the thing that stands out the most for me is those similar qualities to what we were talking about before. It's people who are enthusiastic about what they do and care about you, invest in you, and don't ladder pull. So give you opportunities to come and do things like this, and try to develop you as a whole person, not just a doctor that can list 100 drugs, but someone who can talk about their experiences and sharing life with the patients as well.
Yeah, for me, it's about what my role model would be my dad. So he's got a long-term health condition that affects his hands, basically. And he's an anaesthetist as well.
Oh, wow.
So for me, I found that really inspiring how that even, we're human at the end of the day. We're human. We can get unwell, stuff like that. But it's about, not making that condition your label and affecting your work. And I think I found that really inspiring growing up, seeing my dad do all these things. And he's the kind of doctor that is very hands-on with the stuff he does. So just seeing him really excel at his job was incredibly inspiring for me.
That's it. And you can find role models and mentors in work, outside of work, like you guys have talked about. And some of my biggest role models have been even the people I went through medical school with, my friends, watching them succeed, watching the things they've done. And sometimes it's the people closest to you who can give you that inspiration. Now, on the other side of the coin, we talked about opening that rotor and seeing that name that you really don't want to see. So what are your medical icks? What about a person makes you go, gosh, I really don't want to be like them when I grow up?
F1 wearing a suit to work. I'm joking. You can do that. But
I've thought about it occasionally in the morning.
Gotta look smart.
I think a lot of it comes down to, especially when you're in it together, like you're kind of in the trenches at the start of F1 and F2, you're muddling through together. People that don't share the burden of the hard jobs. There's some wards will like share jobs, so there's going to be a list of 20 patients and 20 jobs. If people aren't doing the jobs that no one wants to do, the unsexy jobs, that can take its toll after a while.
Definitely. For me, it's, so we have this process called handover where we talk about patients after we finish a shift and that we tell the doctor who's going to start their shift. And it's about people that just either they tell very little information about the patient, or they tell you so much that you become really overwhelmed.
You get War and Peace.
And to be honest with you, it does come with experience, I have to be fair. But for me, it's just about, I've just got up, I'm ready for my night shift, and then someone's just telling me way too much or way too little, and I'm just not focused.
I think that's the big thing. I've got a lot of time to help people who are really trying, but maybe just are new to a system or
absolutely.
don't have that. But it's the people where actually, you know, and I think everyone in any line of work can relate to this. It's those people who just aren't pulling their weight and maybe, you know, aren't there when, you know, hits the fan. You want those people who can support you.
I have to say that that's few and far between.
Absolutely.
Most of the people I've worked with inspire me on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's it. And I think, you know, I can think of every single job I've been through, you know, there's people who have inspired me and I've taken tips from all along the way. And so I think we'll try and close off the episode with hopefully a bit of wisdom that we can pass on to our lovely audience at the other side of the camera. So what would be your best piece of advice for how to become that doctor that when someone else looks at the rota, they go, yes?
Invest in the patient's story and invest in the patient's outcome, and everything else will kind of fall into place, I think.
Yeah. Just really get involved, I think, would be my one. Is don't feel that, I know you'll be very busy when you start, but just get involved, you know.
Have a go.
Have a go.
Mine is baked brownies for your night shifts, and then your future registrars will love it. So I think we'll close that episode there. Thanks very much for joining me, Owen and Ruby, and we'll see you next time on Coffee on Call.